Good morning. I wanted to take some time today to do some reviewing on rounding. So, when we round to the nearest 10 or to the nearest 100, here's a little poem or a little saying that might help us to do the job quicker and easier for us. So the first thing we do is we find the place. So if I'm rounding to the nearest tens, I'm looking at the tens place. If I'm rounding to the nearest hundreds, I look at the hundred place. Then I look to the number next door. If it's 5 or bigger, I add one more. If it's 4 or less, let it rest. And everything after that rounded number changes to 0. You might be saying, but Mrs. Wurr, I don't understand. So I'd like to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. So if I have the number 36 and I want to round it to the nearest 10, I'm going to look at the place that I'm wanting to round to. So I'm looking at the 3 here. Then I look at the neighbor, which is a 6. And the saying says if it's 5 or bigger, add one more. 6 is bigger, so I'm going to add 1 to the 3, which makes it a 4. And everything after is a 0. So 36 rounded to the nearest 10 would be 40. Let's try another one. Let's say I have 72 and I want to round to the nearest 10. I circle, I find the place, I look next door. If it's 5 or bigger, I add one more. If it's 4 or less, I let it rest. So I'm going to keep it at 7, and then everything after is a 0. So 72 rounded to the nearest 10 is 70. Now I want to try it with some hundreds. So let's say I have 235. I want to round it to the nearest 100. So I look at the place value, the hundreds. I look next door. If it's 5 or bigger, add one more. If it's 4 or less, let it rest. Well, it's a 3, it's less than 4. So I'm going to keep the 2 there, and everything after is a 0. So 235 rounded to the nearest 100 is 200. What if I had the number 782? I'm going to find the place that I'm wanting to look at. I'm going to round to the hundreds. So I look at the 7. I look next door. If it's 5 or bigger, I add one more. So I'm going to add 1 to the 7, which makes it an 8. And everything after is 0. So that's how I could round to the nearest 10 or to the nearest 100. But what if I'm asked to round to the nearest 10 and my number is 273? 273. So I'm looking at the 10 spot because I want to round to the nearest 10. I look next door. If it's 5 or bigger, add one more. If it's 4 or less, let it rest. So I'm going to keep the 2 and the 7 there. Everything after is 0. Try it out. Practice rounding. Hopefully that little saying will help you, and we'll see you later. Bye.